We will first start with how to use GloFAS for flood forecasting. We need to learn how to load layers on GloFAS. So the GloFAS interface is named GloFAS Mapviewer. And to access it, you have to go on the GloFAS website, and you can, for example, click on Login, enter your email address, and then password. If you do not have an account yet, you can click on Create an account, fill up an online form. We go with the login option. Here we are. If you haven't set up GloFAS yet, this is what you should be seeing, an empty map. You can zoom in and out using the slide bar by clicking on plus and minus. You can also use your mouse wheel. If you click on G, you go to the global view again. On the top, you have different tabs, and if you hover over them, you have the layers available in each category, flood risk evaluation. Let's load a layer, for example, flood summary in hydrological. We toggle it on, it turns blue. Let's also add reporting points. So now what can we see? Actually, not much. So let's zoom, for example, on Mozambique. Here we go. So we can see that we have a few windows that appeared, a date, which is by default the latest GloFAS run. It means the day where the forecast was produced. You can check previous forecasts by clicking on the yellow arrows. And if you want to go back to the latest forecast, you simply click on the clock. You can also click on the date directly to select a specific year, and then a month, and then a day. Under the date, you have another window called layers with the two layers you loaded. You can reorder them using the green arrows up and down. Now we have the flood summary layer on top of the reporting points. You can also toggle off a layer from the interface, remove it from the loaded layer list by clicking on the cross. If you remove all the layers, the window will disappear. You simply need to go back to one of the options and add at least one layer, and the windows will appear again. So now that we know how to add layers, let's start doing some flood forecasting with GloFAS. To do so, we'll be using a case study, the Tropical Cyclone Freddy, that happened in February-March 2023. So let's go back in time, and we will say that today is the 21st of February 2023. And you are worried because Tropical Cyclone Freddy is heading towards Mozambique. What you want to know is where and when is flood peak forecasted in Mozambique. To do so, you open the GloFAS Mapviewer, and the first question you try to answer is where. Where is flood risk forecasted? So let me just use the pointer. So the first layer you'll be loading is flood summary for days 1 to 30. GloFAS gives you a forecast for up to 30 days. You can find that layer in the category hydrological. On each slide, on the top right corner, you'll find the layer we're mentioning on the slide. So we load flood summary for days 1 to 30, and this is what we see for Mozambique. Some rivers are highlighted in yellow, some others in red, and some in purple. The color gives you an indication of the magnitude of the flood forecasted by GloFAS. Low being yellow, high being red, severe being purple. And the shade gives you information on the likelihood of a flood of that magnitude happening according to GloFAS. The darker the shade, the higher the likelihood. The areas we'll be focusing on are the areas highlighted in red, high magnitude flood, purple, severe magnitude flood, which mean in our case, central Mozambique, which is red, south of Mozambique, which is purple. So now the question that we can ask ourselves is, what does it actually mean for an area to be highlighted in red or purple? Does it mean that currently rivers are peaking at high magnitude or severe magnitude flood level? Or does it mean that flood is yet to come in the forecast? To answer that question, we will be looking at reporting points, again in hydrological. So reporting points gives you information on the river flow evolution. A triangle pointing up means that river flow is forecasted to rise. Triangle pointing down means that river flow is forecasted to recede. And circle means that river flow is forecasted to remain somehow constant. The areas we need to focus on are actually triangles pointing up, purple, severe, red, high. So let's go back in central Mozambique. What do we see? Red triangles pointing down, which means that river flow is forecasted to recede under current maximum flood level. It means that flood may be ongoing in the area, river flow may be at a high level, but according to GloFAS, the worst has passed. In southern Mozambique, we do have also triangles pointing up, this time purple and red. It means that river flow is forecasted to rise and the peak, or the worst, is yet to come. If we make the assumption that flooding is ongoing in central Mozambique and that help has been deployed in the area we should be focusing on is southern Mozambique. Now that we have the where, let's find out the when. When is high and severe flood forecasted in southern Mozambique? To do so, we'll be looking at 3 layers: flood summaries for days 1 to 3, 4 to 10, and 11 to 30. So, flood summary for days 1 to 3. We zoom on southern Mozambique and we see that for Inhabane, we have no flood signal. For Gaza, we do have some flood signal, but low magnitude. Now, if we look at the forecast for in 4 to 10 days, we see that in Inhabane, we have high flood signal. In Gaza, we have severe flood signal. In 11 to 30 days, again, we had high flood signal in Inhabane and severe flood signal in Gaza. So high to severe flood is forecasted to start in 4 to 10 days. So let's recap the forecast as for the 21st of February 2023. There is a risk of flooding in southern Mozambique, with river flow forecasted to rise to a high to severe flood level in 4 to 10 days. Now, we do have to keep in mind a few limitations of GloFAS. So in yellow, you have processes that are not simulated by GloFAS, or you have limitations that are external to GloFAS. For example, any uncertainty in the tropical cyclone track will lead to uncertainty in the flood forecast by GloFAS. And in circles that are purple or blue, depending on your screen, you have processes included in GloFAS, but that have limitations. For example, GloFAS includes reservoirs, but the way reservoirs are filled and then water released follows a pretty simple algorithm. So if you're using GloFAS in an area that has reservoirs, it is recommended to cross-check the forecast with on-the-ground information. For example, are the reservoirs in an area full? Is water currently being released from those reservoirs?